When released in 2013, Outlast was widely regarded as one of the best horror games of the year. With its gritty graphics, ominous audio, and powerless protagonist, the Red Barrel's release quickly became a golden standard upon which future titles in the genre would be measured. But in an industry dominated by daily developments and ever-present demands to increase the quality of content, how has the game held up over time? Join me as I review the original Outlast and answer the question, is Outlast worth playing a decade later? In Outlast, you assume the role of Miles Upshur, a journalist venturing into a rundown psychiatric asylum to investigate an anonymous report of horrific human experimentation. The Mount Massive Asylum is owned and operated by the Murkoff Corporation, whom the game immediately identifies as the stereotypical profit-over-people organization with ethics well beyond questionable. You arrive at the asylum under the cover of darkness, and your journey derails almost immediately. Upon entering Mount Massive, you are greeted by the bloody and broken bodies of some of Mount Massive's former inhabitants, after which you find yourself face to face with Chris Walker, a gargantuan beast of a man, and Father Martin, a religious zealot who worships a mysterious god. From there, it's a relentless game of cat and mouse as you make your way through the asylum, uncovering the secrets of the Murkoff Corporation as you attempt to find your way out. Outlast's gameplay is a great example of less is more. Foregoing contrived mechanics and complex button combinations, Outlast's controls are limited to basic movement, along with crouching, sprinting, and jumping, a single button to handle the interaction with environmental objects, and the crown jewel of the Outlast experience, your camcorder. The majority of Outlast's environments are dark. We're talking dark, and your camcorder's night vision is the only tool at your disposal to find your way through the darkness. Of course, this night vision mode has the world's worst power efficiency and drains batteries at an alarming rate. While this does create a need to balance using of night vision and traveling unaided, the abundance of batteries to be found in the asylum means you rarely have to worry about being totally left in the dark. In fact, while playing through the game over the last week in February, I only found myself completely out of battery at one point in the later stages of the game. It was then I realized that even without battery, the camera does still allow you to use a significantly weakened night vision mode. However, in that single instance of being in total darkness without batteries, I found the experience resulted more in frustration and distraction than any increased tension or suspense. Outlast's story is good, but not revolutionary. Its portrayal of a faceless company in search of profit as the ultimate evil has been done innumerable times, and Outlast does not do much to build on that. Where Outlast's story does shine is through its depiction of mental illness, human experimentation, and the way these elements can blur the lines between victim and villain, not just from an ethical sense, as there were several times while playing that I found myself wondering whether the silhouette I saw in the distance was going to actively attempt to murder me, or if he was just a poor man lost in his own madness. Outlast's visual design is phenomenal. While it is a decade old and certainly don't compare with today's AAA releases, use of light and dark is the centerpiece of Outlast's visual design and certainly carries it through, allowing its 10-year-old models to more than suffice even today in most moments of the game. Outlast's soundtrack arguably exceeds its visuals. The orchestra perfectly conveys the stress and sheer terror that Miles and the player feel as they progress through the asylum hellscape. The violins and choir specifically kept me in a constant state of palpable anxiety. The voice acting is also surprisingly well done for a small title. And I would argue is better delivered and more fitting than many mainstream studio releases. In fact, this is one area of the game where I struggle to find a critique with which to offset the praise. While Outlast is a decade old and can therefore certainly be played well on any modern system, I did find the game stuttered on occasion during my recording toward the end of the game after my final meeting with Father Martin. This was surprising, as though I was recording my playthrough in OBS, I have an above-average system, and this should not have happened. However, it was not at all a constant issue, only happening momentarily and a small handful of times at that. I also fell victim to a long-standing issue that's been reported in the Steam forum since the game's initial release. After finishing the game and attempting to return to the main menu from the credits, it did freeze in a loading screen requiring the task manager to close it out. Thankfully, this does not appear to impact the game recognizing your completion. In 2023, it can still be said that Outlast warrants praise and the high regard in which it is held. It's no surprise, as the gameplay, while not lacking, is fundamental, with the impressive visual design and immaculate soundtrack ultimately being the fear-driving forces behind its success. If you are a fan of horror gaming, or simply someone who wants to test the upper limits of anxiety and fear that a well-crafted title can induce, Outlast is certainly capable of delivering those emotions, even a decade after its release.